That was 4 hours worth of water. Let's go.
Hopefully you have 4 hours worth of energy to talk about hockey in the summertime.
No.
Just that's it's not a thing. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Tougies Take Podcast, your favorites hockey fraudcast. What is a fraudcast, you ask? It's a hockey podcast that's barely about hockey. And why is that, boys? Because it's summertime and there's not much to talk about, but hey, we'll find a way to make this show almost an hour. Probably. Maybe. Today, we are joined by Mr. Endo Mills. And returning for the first time in a month and a half?
Maybe that long, yeah. It's been a while.
5 weeks, I think, or so.
Probably.
Sin, you're home. Hi,
I'm
hello.
home.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Is it?
A lot of people to thank. No, it's horrible. I came back and it's immediately like 90 to 100. This weekend it's going to be 110. Which for Endo out there, it's like almost 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. California dreaming. Sin for the win. So, as we get today going, right? Obviously, we'll have our viewer questions. We will talk some hockey. There hasn't been a ton in the past week because, LOL, how else are we going to get through the summer unless we talk about how Erik Karlsson hasn't been traded until September? Sin,
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you think Erik Karlsson would still be a Shark by the time you got back?
No, not really. Like, I knew that's a possibility, but all signs are pointing to him being out the door. I know things have started to heat up talk-wise, and it's starting to get to the point where they're narrowing down the likely teams, but that also happened near the deadline, too. Right. I mean, yeah, it's harder during the season, you can argue, to, like, make a big trade like that, but still, I just, want it over with. At this point, especially considering and now it's like, well, I keep hearing that the Sharks are in on Tarasenko, which is weird.
Who else has the money to give him at this stage?
That's true. And hey, you can flip him at the deadline, but also Michael Misa's next year. Do you want to risk not having that brilliant lottery? So I don't know, man. I feel like. But then again, we're probably inserting every single young guy into the lineup. Like, Bordeleau's probably coming. Eklund's definitely going to be in the lineup. I doubt that they're going to, boost us to be this playoff team. But you never know what kind of team we're going to completely be next season. So, hey.
That is true. Although, fun fact, Michael Misa's 2025.
What?
2024,
Oh.
you have the... Yeah, so see, this year, you could be good. It's fine. But
Why
yeah,
did I
this
think-
year...
Oh.
I don't know. It's okay. 2024
Because they're
draft
hyping him up. That's why.
Macklin Celebrini, Cole Iserman, Ivan Demidov, another... I can't wait, by the way. It's going to be an entire year of Matvei Michkov 2.0 with Ivan Demidov. And whether or not he drops out of the top 3, top 5, I can't wait. It's going to be the same damn script. But speaking of that, Sid, you were in Finland when the Stanley Cup was won by the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I haven't got to talk about that.
You haven't gotten to talk about that, the draft, free agency. I mean, if there are any lingering thoughts, I mean...
To be honest, the Sharks draft, I think they knocked it out of the park. Besides not getting Michkov, I still would have liked Michkov. But then with who we've been signing and grabbing, it's okay, do they maybe my whole thing was Greer initially said at the draft, yeah, we're likely not going to pick someone who's going to be on the team in the next 2 to 3 years. But then we literally picked arguably the most NHL ready person besides Bedard, obviously. Will Smith is arguably the most NHL ready person. Karlsson's probably going to play in Europe.
Fantilli in Columbus.
Fantilli, I think he's going to go college.
I mean, I would to get away from Mike Babcock, but
yeah, that's I don't know. Arguably, I don't know. Looking at all the whatever, everything I read, but who knows? people say shit all the time about drafts. I still would have liked Michkov because I think his ceiling is just so fucking high. And your plan as the Sharks should not be to try to turn this around too quickly, I don't think. I think that's when you get in trouble. And so this whole talk about them maybe going for Tarasenko, I don't know. I don't think it fits into the long-term plans, but who the hell knows? But yeah, Musty is incredible. Like, grabbing Musty, grabbing Kenyoni, like, those are three very, very likely NHLers that we have. And that, if you get three NHLers out of one draft, you fucking knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
So, what I'm hearing is the good with the bad. Vegas wins the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, like, I don't care about that as much, honestly. Like, again, like I said, it happened when I'm in Finland, so I have the beauty to not give a shit, and now so much time has passed. All the hype has died down. Vegas has already moved on to the next cool thing. Shout out to the A's, actually, for taking all this talk away from Vegas winning the Cup about the goddamn A's.
The draft happens. Free agency happens. It's very difficult to go back and cover a lot. But yeah, any other lingering thoughts in regards to those? Not even necessarily about the Sharks.
This wasn't even that big of a free agency either, so I'm okay with like not missing it. I'm kind of surprised Tyler because he didn't say with the Bruins. That's nuts to me. And then the Bruins traded Hall. I feel like they fumbled the bag right there, but that's just me.
So we had talked about this when you were gone. Like, the Bruins didn't inherently trade Taylor Hall to be able to keep Bertuzzi. It would have been nice, but it wasn't the absolute. So to speak.
No. I just think, why do you trade Taylor Hall if you're not going to keep Bertuzzi? That's my thought on it.
I think they thought they were going to keep Bertuzzi, and then Bertuzzi was like, "Oh, here's a bunch of money," and then the Bruins like, "No," and then they're like, "Oh, we'll get it in free agency." They didn't, at least not with the term that they thought, given it's a one-year deal with the Leafs. So, one of those things. But, buddy, it's good to have you back. I mean, not as if we haven't talked. We've been playing a lot of NHL 2K10 on stream as of late. Just, that's been... Oh, honestly, like, we talked about the fact, like, let's play a bunch of NHL 2K10, but I didn't think we were going to start playing it so soon, and especially... I wouldn't say the fun we've had has been surprising, really. I mean, what a game.
It's such a good game, and the fact that we can all play it like a couch co-op is honestly the best. Again, NHL, like EA, if you put this in NHL, like, we would play that, but we can't. Like, I mean, as quote-unquote, bad as the game can be, it still would be fun to play, like, with a full 5 or 6 against AI. And be able to trade people as a group. And, I mean, the content level for that is just incredible.
It is. And, well, hey, we can keep pushing. We can keep dreaming. So we'll get into some viewer questions. Before that, though, as always, we need to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our lovely friends at Manscaped.com, who want to remind you that you can use code Tougie, that's TOUGIE, for 20% off your first order. Get free shipping as well. And did you just yeet your deodorant? What the hell happened?
Yeah, I had it in my hand and I tried to flip it and catch it to be cool, and then it completely ate shit. It completely ate shit. So
good job.
Manscaped, get the proper tools and don't drop your tools. Keep yourself nice and clean and fresh in the summer. Yeah. It was the deodorant.
So the reason why I'm laughing is before we recorded this show, I had a doctor's appointment. Then after that, went and got some odds and ends at the local Walmart.
Wow.
And we went and grabbed the finest product a person can get for their kitchen cleaning purposes, that being a Scrub Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
And my fiance grabs said Scrub Daddy and attempts to basketball shoot the thing into a normal size shopping cart from 3 feet away. She ripped it.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I was dying. I was absolutely dying laughing.
No basketball playing children, that's for sure.
God, no, they'll have. All she does is just look at me and she says, "This is why I played music and didn't play sports." Oh, it was incredible. Manscaped.com, code Tougie, Tougie. Some viewer questions from the fine folks over on the Tougies Cafe Discord. Again, the link is in the description whether or not you are listening or watching this show, or perhaps you're listening but on YouTube. Hey, who knows? First question comes from AJ. You are now the manager of a pro beer pong team. Yes, this is a real thing. Who from the NHL directory are you putting on your team?
The what? Oh, like Twitch.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest dude bro in the NHL community?
I'm putting OG Kevin Bacon on mine.
Yep.
Yeah, OG 100%.
I win.
That's not even necessary.
I don't even think he plays NHL anymore, but I'm still doing it.
Before every shot, here we are.
It was UFC. And I don't blame him in the slightest. God damn. But
man.
yeah, that's the unanimous answer is one OG Kevin Bacon on twitch.tv. Second question from RG Dust. What is your favorite summertime activity?
Going to Finland.
It's been 2 summers in a row, so tough to disagree with. Oh God.
It seems like a lot of fun. I gotta get in on that.
You do. Favorite summertime activity?
Dying in the heat. I already answered this like a few weeks ago. No,
Show
my
me
favorite.
heat stroke.
Oh fuck! I have, but damn it, I don't have it. But yeah, dying in the heat or turning an extra level of brown. Like, you're just out in the sun working all summer long, and then I turn from like like a respectable color to like charred.
To bad guy in a Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah.
God. Delightful. I don't know if I have an answer. I mean, I've had the tradition now. It's been 3 years in a row on the 4th of July. Going to, again, I mentioned previous outlets. I don't know. I think I mentioned it here last week with Endo. But again, just the idea of like, hey, every 4th of July, there's a family friend. They have a cabin on the lake. And we just go and hang out for the 4th. And this year, again, I was just constantly surrounded by like 5 dogs. Basically a dog sitter for the day. It was the best. So that's kind of becoming my new favorite thing. Aside from, hanging out in front of an air conditioner to not absolutely die. Because, global warming and such. Sin, you sticking with Finland as an answer?
I guess I got to be more specific. But
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, honestly, all the fun I've had the most fun I've had in the summer is probably because being in Finland. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it has to be like looking for like a summertime activity, like an activity exclusive to summertime. Because I guess that's technically not. Because you
went in the winter.
I've gone in the winter too.
Didn't really have the proper attire for most of the trip, but you went in the winter.
Yeah, I did. I had great attire.
You went to the store and bought something for the sake.
I bought a neck warmer. I didn't have a neck warmer. I didn't know if I'd need
next time
one.
You'd bring a thicker coat. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I just legit. I mean, I did have a thicker coat. It was like a snowboarding jacket, but mine was good enough as long as I had like a thermal on as well as a shirt. And then under my jeans, I wore like thin sweatpants. I was such a fucking Californian there. It was just an extra layer than everyone else. I got laughed at by multiple people. I was like fucking getting hit in the face by people I knew. Like I'm like bundled down, getting hit in the face by snow and wind. Their face is like completely free, and their hair is like flying in the wind. They're just just another fucking Tuesday for them.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Exclusive summertime activity. Swimming? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm sticking with going to Finland. Fuck you.
Fair enough. From Bud Knight, I think I've asked this question before, but what's your go-to genre of music that you listen to? Folksy jazz.
That's yours? Or are you just saying that? Oh.
I'm just saying.
Honestly,
what's everyone else gonna say?
It depends on my mood, man. It's so mood dependent. If I'm driving or on a road trip, I listen to a lot of Dispatch, so that's like kind of folksy Americana type stuff. If I'm gaming,
It was loud.
What?
No, my Discord opened up. It was loud.
Oh, if I'm gaming, usually if I'm playing like Total War Warhammer, I'll put on. I have a playlist called "It's Every Single Falconer Album in Chronological Order," and I'll just play that. So essentially, power folk metal, Swedish power folk metal. Those are my two go-tos, man.
I can't top that. I can't top that. It's not even a what's the best question. It's just I can't top that. Tremendous. Endo, you got anything for this one?
What was the question?
Perfect. From Bouncy
Thanks.
McBoink Boink, what's something you hate for absolutely no good rational reason?
People, when they tell me, hey, you have the thing, I'm like, hey, what was the question? And then they skip me answering the fucking question. For no particular reason.
So you get for not paying attention. That's the reason.
Dude, I fucking zoned out. I was in the fucking heat all day today, okay? Give me a fucking break.
Nah. It's more fun to not.
You got nothing. You don't have heat. You want to see heat? Come my way, young man.
I don't want to.
I'll show you concerning temperatures.
Oh,
God. Sin, what's something you hate for no good rational reason?
the New York Rangers.
Fair.
I don't know why. Like, I really don't.
So yesterday on Twitter, you shared a certain post.
That was a genius post, by the way. I don't know if anyone really... There's a couple people that got it, I'm sure, but I feel like it went over some heads.
So you shared a post that was talking about the New York Rangers in regards to their development of young prospects. Someone shared Rangers lineup for a game in November 2010, which was, for the record, Brandon Dubinsky, Artem Anisimov, Alex Froloff, Brandon Prust, Eric Christensen, I think it's Evgeny Grachev, Sean Avery, Brian Boyle, Ruslan Fedotenko, Derek Bogard, Derek Stepan, and I believe Ryan White. Their defense was Mark Stahl, Michael Roosevelt, Michael Delzato, Dan Girardi, Steve Eminger, and I believe Kurt Sauer. It might have been Michael Sauer. Your response: an elite goalie behind a subpar team loaded with big hype prospects who never fully panned out. The Rangers are nothing if not consistent.
Because it's true. It's true. They get carried by a goaltender and they're shit. I'll be fair though. You know, they've had a couple pan out this time, although Fox wasn't theirs. And he's overrated still. I don't care what you guys say. Haskinen's better. But Lafreniere, Kakko, Heedle's okay, I guess, but like he was, you know, I don't know. Like I just feel like there's so many. Keandre Miller's solid too, but again, for like the amount of hype that are around those guys, maybe because they're original six, maybe because it's in New York, it kind of like the Leafs in the way where there's so much hype around these guys, and then just fail. But to be fair, Lafreniere and Kakko were number one and number two picks, or was Kakko number 4? Yeah,
Kakko was 2. Yeah.
How the fuck are they both on the third line still, or fourth line?
I'm intrigued to see if they are this season. Cap friendly. Now, granted, this was last modified July 6th, so who the hell knows? But Cap friendly had a projection of Kreider, Zibanejad, Kakko, Panarin, Trocheck, Wheeler, Lafreniere, Heedle, Goudreau, and then VC, Nick Bonino, and Tyler Pitlick. I'd imagine that could be altered quite a bit, but
yeah,
it's weird. weird is the best thing I can think to say. Although, obviously, we've talked about that a lot too with the Rangers, where it's like, hey, can you properly develop prospects for once, twice, maybe, possibly?
I feel like anyone who gets good on that team is despite them. But yeah, like this is like this is a whole new story of Brassard, that other guy. Who was in the middle? It was on that team, I think, that we just mentioned.
On that team? Their middle was Anisimov, Christensen, Boyle, and Stepan.
Yeah, Stepan and Brassard. Remember when they were supposed to be like really fucking tits good?
Yeah.
And they never really did it. They never really got there. They couldn't take that next step.
Yeah, definitely more of a 2C on a good team. 3C on a great team, you could argue. Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd call them 3C kind of anywhere.
Rangers fans.
I don't care. They can suck my taint.
Yeah, take that. God, something I hate for no rational reason. I don't think there's anything I hate for an irrational reason. If I hate something, it's earned it. You know?
Like, what I call it, like, pretty much you usually hate stuff because of some reason. My reason's just so petty that I call hating the New York Rangers irrational. Like, it's just, some of their fans annoy me. The hype around Fox annoys me. And so I hate the team.
What do I hate out of pettiness? It's a loaded question. I don't know. I'm fully justified in my anger and my dislike of things. So there. That's how we answer that question. For Miggy, logically speaking, how beneficial would a trade for Carlson to the Pittsburgh Penguins be? Or would that effort in trade capital and cap space better benefit being used? Would it be would it be more beneficial? There you go. To use it on depth forwards and other defensemen. So the idea, and apparently, I mean, the names you always see around are like Carolina and Pittsburgh in regards to Erik Karlsson. So the idea of, okay, Pittsburgh landing Erik Karlsson. Right now, their defense, again, according to Cap Friendly, is listed as Ryan Graves and Chris Letang, Marcus Pettersson, Jeff Petrie, P.O. Joseph, and Jan Ruda, with Chad Ruedel as a healthy scratch, and younger defensemen that are in the mix, someone like Ty Smith. They do have guys like Mark Friedman, Will Butcher under contract. I don't know if any of their defensive prospects from there would be taking a big step up. Would it be more beneficial to add Erik Karlsson to that or improve on their forward core? But I got to go with Erik Karlsson because I mentioned their defensive core, which isn't bad. But, man, if you add Erik Karlsson to that, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forward-wise.
Letang isn't a bona fide OFD anymore. And he kind of was always decent two-way. So put him in the top four and have him be a two-way.
Yeah, if you could transition Chris Letang to being more of the two-way, more shutdown of the two, I do wonder how that would go. And then you could put someone like Ryan Graves with Jeff Petrie and then try to let Jeff Petrie gallop a little bit more. Their forwards, honestly, aren't that bad to me. I think Kyle Dubas has done a good job, and obviously he's inherited a decent amount. But it's projected as Jake Gensel, Crosby, and Brian Rust.
Okay.
Riley Smith, who they got for nothing, essentially. Evgeny Malkin and Ricard Raquel. By the way, Sin, Riley Smith sent out from Vegas. Thoughts?
It's fucking on brand. At least they waited till after the parade.
Fair.
Like they at least fucking learned a little bit and waited till after the parade to ship him out for nothing.
Yeah. Riley Smith, Evgeny Malkin, Ricard Raquel, Matt Nieto, Jeff Carter, Mikhail Granlund, Drew O'Connor, Lars Eller, and Nola Chari, with Vinny Hinostroza as a healthy scratch. They also have other guys like Andreas Janssen, Alex Nylander. More
I love the forward core. I think maybe they're lacking some goal scoring here and there, but you have Crosby and Malkin.
And if you add the what forward threat could they add that would provide the offense that Erik Karlsson would provide from the blue line?
Yeah, nothing. Not even Tarasenko.
I mean, the biggest names out there still are Tarasenko, Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
Who's worse defensively, Patrick Kane or Erik Karlsson? The answer is
Patrick
yes. Probably.
Here's the thing. I think I brought this up before, but I'll bring it up again. The players, the Ted Lindsay Award, which is voted on by the players, voted, a lot of them vote, Erik Karlsson was a finalist. Therefore, the players of the NHL view the trade-off for him being an offensive beast to not being great defensively as very, very fair and valid. Like, clearly, if they're voting for him for the Ted Lindsay. So, like, yeah, Erik Karlsson's better than anyone you could pick up in free agency. I don't know if they should do it because it's going to cost you at least 2 fucking firsts, and if it doesn't, that's bad on Mike Greer's part. But he's instilled me with a whole lot of faith over the draft and the beginning of free agency and stuff, and the things that he's done. So I have a lot more faith in him now to make this, to get good return. I want those first, and I want them unprotected.
Yeah,
because man, if you get this year, next year's first, or even the next 2 years first, like fuck the first from this year, get the next couple of years, and have them unprotected. Because man, if they drop out of the playoffs and Crosby retires, Malkin retires, Letang retires, all of a sudden those firsts could be lottery picks. I want to Ottawa Senators them. Like the Senators did to the Sharks, and then before them, I think it was the Senators, or the Nashville did to Senators. Was that how it went? Because it's when you look at those picks that actually turned into top 5 picks, I think it was Nashville did it to the Senators, but then the Senators did it to the Sharks. So now it's our turn to do it to someone else.
Are you concerned at all that it could be very similar though to the Timo Meier trade?
Absolutely, and it shouldn't be because he's the Norris winner.
He is, but the big holdup on this potential trade is the fact that any team that gets him wants San Jose to retain salary.
Well, you can retain salary.
Yes, but does that not inherently... Do you think that drives down the return the Sharks could get because of the money involved, when theoretically it should...
It should drive it up.
It should in theory, but for some reason, I don't know about this trade, it just feels like it wouldn't.
I don't know why. I don't know why there's this weird stigma around Karlsson and his contract. Why would it drive down value? In every other situation, it drives up value. Why for Erik Karlsson is there this other set of fucking rules every single time? Like, he won the Norris. He didn't deserve it because he doesn't play defense. Players all voted for him, the Ted Lindsay. So apparently they all think that trade-off is fine. You retain salary on someone that boosts the value. Erik Karlsson, you have to retain salary. That's going to somehow lower the value. I don't know. I don't know where this narrative comes from. Everyone loved Karlsson when he's in Ottawa. The second he goes to a non-Canadian or non-Original 6 team, all of a sudden he's public enemy number 1. Who the hell knows? But I think people are fucking full of it. I don't know. I think he should get some good ass value.
I don't disagree. I'm intrigued. I do think Pittsburgh is a really good landing spot, though. So we will see. Maybe this trade's been rumored for 5 months, 6 months, almost. I mean, essentially, it was around January where it's like, hey, it could get moved to the deadline, and now, it could get moved to the draft. Well, it might get moved before the start of the season. Time will tell.
Yeah.
The hope is, we saw one player who was in that category finally get moved, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yep.
Hopefully, it does work out. Just double checking, do we have any other questions? Who is the one player you wish played for your favorite team? And who is a player you wish never played for your favorite team? That comes from They Won Quick a Cup. So we'll answer that first question first. One player that you wish played for your favorite team that never did. What's funny about this for me is for the longest time, the answer was Rick Nash. And then he was a Bruin. It was a magical time. I mean, the deal didn't work out. And Jerome McGinley as well.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of those guys where I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. It actually happened.
Yeah.
That's a Tough question.
Very tough.
Trying to think so we don't have too much dead air.
Got one.
Yeah.
I got one. Colton Paracchio. The reason why I wanted them on my team, because every fucking offseason for like 3 years, it was always like, oh, Paracchio's a good option. Swap him out for, what's his name? God, who's the guy who... Jake Gardner. Everyone's like, trade 1-for-1 Colton Paracchio for Jake Gardner. Like, what?
I mean, hey, Jake Gardner was good at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a scapegoat, so I guess that's why people wanted them on the team still.
Fair. Sin, were you able to come up with one?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's it's too basic an answer, so I'll go with Peter Forsberg.
Hey, that's
Like, I
still a
loved
good
him.
answer.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say McDavid, but that's too basic.
Yeah.
And hey, you never know. He can
You're
come to the Sharks in the future.
You never know. It could happen. His career's not over, so give it time. God damn.
Yeah, I'll
It
be
is a
shocked
really...
if he stays in Edmonton.
I hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't at this rate. Especially given the Oilers' somewhat lackluster free agency time. Still don't have contracts with Evan Bouchard or McLeod yet, so that's fun. God damn. Can I say Dominic Hasek?
Yeah, why not?
Like, it's bound to be players like that. It's like that, or some of the more obscure, maybe not so obscure, but they're not like the superstar names. Like Peter Sikora was the guy that I always really loved to watch. It was never a Bruin. That's a bit of a loaded one. This one might be easier because you're not having to think about someone who played for up to 31 other teams aside from yours.
Mm-hmm.
Who was a player that you wish never played for your favorite team?
Evander Kane.
Fair.
So much fallout happened from that. All his bullshit. We couldn't keep Pavelski because of his contract. Ugh.
Mm.
Ugh.
Oh, God. Who is someone who I wish never
I'd say
played?
you go first. I got nothing right now.
All right, I'm trying because it's like, do I want to think of? Because there's so many different aspects you could think of it as. The more serious side of things is like, well, Craig McTavish played for the Boston Bruins, and Craig McTavish was involved in a very serious incident in the mid-'80s that killed somebody. So you're just like, huh, that's a thing. You could think of it from a draft pick perspective that did not make it. Like, I could be like, I wish Zach Hamill never played for the Boston Bruins, because it means instead of Zach Hamill, maybe they would have taken the guy who went 9th overall immediately after Zach Hamill, Logan Couture. You could think of it from a free agency perspective, a trade perspective. God, what the hell? I'm blanking on his name right now. Who's the goon that the Bruins acquired from the Flyers for like 2 third-round picks? Zach Ronaldo. Zach Ronaldo might be my answer. Louis Eriksson might be my answer, because it means they never would have traded Tyler Seguin to the Dallas Stars. There's a lot of... I might have to go with the Louis Eriksson one, because the Seguin trade... You just wonder what if Tyler Seguin was still a Bruin. What might have happened in... Oh, was he? He was already gone by the 2013 Cup run, was he not? I believe he was, because he was a part... No, so he was there in the 2013 Cup run, and they lost. And then they dealt him like less than a month later to Dallas. So you think from like the 2014 season all the way through, what would the Bruins have looked like with Tyler Seguin? I'm going to go with Louis Eriksson. It's not because I hate Louis Eriksson. but because I hate what he was traded for.
That guy was
It did not
memed
work
to
out.
death in Vancouver. Like, it was actually insane how many memes in Vancouver there were about him.
Jeez.
Endo,
man.
were you able to think of one?
Yeah, not played, but just drafted. Tyler Biggs.
He
I don't even
kind of
know when
stands
he was
out.
drafted.
Yeah, Tyler Biggs didn't play a single NHL game.
Yeah.
Let me see what else here. 4 years in the A. 119 games played, 11 goals, 6 assists, 17 points total for 4 years.
Holy shit.
ECHL, 5 years, played 136 games, 40 goals, 47 assists, 87 points total. His most success that he ever had was in the GTHL U16. So before his draft, where he played 72 games and 86 points.
When was he drafted by the Leafs?
2011. Fun fact, I was working on a video before I left for Finland, and I honestly forgot about it until Endo just brought this up. Yeah, because Endo and I were going to make this video. And it was going to be, and I still might do this video, but essentially it was the idea of like, okay, I have to name who the worst draft pick is from 2011 in the first round. And the answer was a tie between Tyler Biggs at 22nd overall, and Minnesota took Zach Phillips at 28th, and they were the only 2 first rounders to never play in an NHL game.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, Tyler Biggs, not that 2011 draft was great.
Sure.
Like, if the lead, well, in a sense, right? Because in that first round, that was Nugent Hopkins going first, Landeskog, Huberdeau, Adam Larson, Zibanejad. Like, there were some great players in the first round. But in that first round, you also had Duncan Simons, Sven Bertschke, Mark McNeil. I mean, Stefan Nason's had a decent career, but he hasn't lived up to first round, 21st overall caliber.
Yeah.
Matt Plumple was in that draft. Stuart Percy, Nick Jensen. Like, it was a very hit or miss first round. To that point, the Leafs, like, would have had a tough time hitting on that pick based on who was going next. Like, if they took Matt Plumple, it wouldn't have worked out. If they took, like, Philip Deneau, would have been nice. Nemesnikov would have been okay, but then it was just a very hit or miss draft to a certain point, and then
I mean, yeah, but
what?
To a certain point, but that top 10 was lights out.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, their pick was 22nd.
Yeah, true. But
so that's all. That's just the only thought with that is, like, they had the 22nd pick. Like, where else would you have necessarily gone?
Sven Bertschke, I remember when he was supposed to be a top 6 beast in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Actually,
I think he
question.
suffered a bunch of concussions, though, so.
Yeah. Quick trivia
What's up,
question. Who are the top 3 high scorers from the 2011 entry draft?
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
No.
I know the answer, so.
He's 5th.
I don't. You said top 10. He's in the top 10.
It's the top 3.
Oh.
If you want to do top 10, I can do top 10 as well.
No, it's fine.
Top 10's a bit much.
Do the top 3.
Top 3.
Again, I know the answer to this. Obviously, so does Endo.
I'll have to pull up the goddamn list again so I could.
So in third, the Florida Panthers' 3rd overall selection, a man they traded in the last calendar year,
Yep.
Jonathan Huberdeau.
Oh, then it's got to be Landeskog after.
No.
Mm-hmm.
The second is another. Well, I mean, Huberdeau's a current Calgary Flame. The second is a former member of the Calgary Flames, Jonathan Gaudreau.
Drafted
Oh,
104th.
Yeah, 4th round.
104th.
Again,
And
I
then-
had just done research for this too.
And then number 1, 58th overall by the Tampa Bay Lightning, Nikita Kucherov with 729 points in 644 games.
Wow, what a draft.
He's
Yeah.
got everybody else beat by a lot. So, like I said, super up and down draft that year. But I understand the Tyler Biggs pick because that's one that's always just kind of been viewed as like a super negative thing for the Leafs. And there was a string of it. I mean, God, you talk about Leafs draft picks. That's quite the rabbit hole, essentially, in terms of how things have not worked out. So,
pain.
Speaking of how things did not work out, Alex DeBrincat is no longer a member of the Ottawa Senators. This was one of the two, along with Carlson, when it's like, okay, when is this actually going to happen? And we did finally get the answer. DeBrincat was acquired by Ottawa from Chicago on July 7th, 2022, in exchange for the 7th overall pick, became defenseman Kevin Korchinski, the 39th overall pick, forward Paul Ludwinski, and a 3rd-round pick in 2024. The Sens obviously did not make the playoffs this past season. DeBrincat put up 66 points in 82 games. The trade on July 9th was Ottawa sending Alex DeBrincat to Detroit and nothing else in exchange for forward Dominic Kubalik, defensive prospect Donovan Sabrango, a 2024 4th-round pick, and a 2024 first, which is conditional. Detroit has the option to send their own pick or Boston's 2024 first. In the event that the Bruins' first-round pick is top 10, the Bruins can retain and transfer their 2025 instead. Detroit would then have the option of sending that 2025 unprotected pick or their own 2024 first. This was viewed by a lot of people immediately as an outright L for the Ottawa Senators. So I want to talk about what this deal is for Ottawa, in my eyes at least. They went for it in acquiring DeBrincat. Of course, they signed Claude Giroux last free agency. They thought they were going to be better than what they were. They had some big injuries. I mean, Josh Norris especially played like, what, 6 games? Less, I think?
Yeah.
You had Alex Formanton, who was viewed as a solid little piece for them, that was banished away to Switzerland because, well, it's very much rumored that in terms of that 2018 Canadian team, that he is at the top of that list. Why else would he magically be playing over in Europe? Apparently, by the way, soon they say we're going to get an update on that and names are going to be named. So we'll see. But regardless, that is a piece that wasn't there for them. They went for it. It didn't work out. Yes, they gave up what turned out to be the 7th overall pick in Kevin Korchinski. I agree that at a base level, what they gave up is not worth what they have acquired back, right? Because if you think about it, essentially, it is ADB, the 7th overall pick Korchinski, a 2nd-round pick in Ludwinski, and a 3rd for Kubalik, Sabrango, a 4th, and a 1st. At base level, they lost. But you also... My rule is 5 years, man. At least 5 years for prospects. You just don't know.
Korchinski could be awful.
Exactly. Like, the odds that, a 7th overall pick, like, there's no way that won't work out. But you can look at some of these more recent drafts. I even go back to 2012. You know what defensemen were in the top 10 in 2012? Ryan Murray, Griffin Reinhart, Morgan Riley, Hampus Lindholm, Matt Dumba, Derek Pouliot, Jacob Trouba. That's not bad. Slater Cuckoo. Like, complete crapshoot in that particular draft. Let's pick 2017, for example. Defenseman, I mean, Jesus, there was only 2 in the top. Wow, okay. 2017 is not a good example. There were 2 defensemen in the top 10 in 2017. Mira Heiskanen and Cale Makar.
Yeah, there hasn't really
a good
been
example.
a defensive focused draft in a while, to be honest.
Yeah. 2015, Noah Hannafin, Ivan Provorov, Zach Werenski went in the top 10. I mean, yeah, there are good chances that who you take could work out very well. But you could also land a Hayden Fleury, for example, who has just been okay. It's just one of those things where you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Like, you know, Chicago still has a 3rd round pick to use. Ottawa will have a 1st and a 4th to use at some point in the next year or two. You just don't know yet. I do agree that inherently they took a swing and they missed, but it could work out. You know, especially for this season, Dominic Kubalik is not the worst replacement in the world. I don't think he's the player that the Brinket is. But at the same time, Pierre Dorion has gone on to speak about this. And apparently, as is usually the case, Chicago did not allow Ottawa to talk to Alex DeBrincat about an extension before the trade. So they went for it knowing that he was an RFA and thought, hey, maybe this will work out. And it didn't. I don't think Ottawa's wrong for that. Especially, too, I feel like in a prior era, before a certain former owner, when the hell did they ever take chances like this? It always just seemed to be the bare minimum. We don't want to pay players. We're not going to take risks. If I'm a Sens fan, shit, the risk didn't work out, but at least we fucking took one.
Yeah.
And in terms of the return, Pierre Dorion also mentioned that, again, Ottawa didn't have any negotiating power. They really didn't.
He wasn't going to sign there?
He wasn't going to sign there. He was not. And the word was out that it's like he wants to either go home to Michigan or wants to go, and Sin, you'll be happy about this, and I mentioned this on the show, or he wanted to go to one of the cities, one of the states, with no income tax. They had no negotiating power whatsoever. So I think given the fact that they got a roster player, a prospect, who knows, and a first, I think they did okay given the circumstances, but they really didn't have any negotiating power. So I don't think it's inherently this fat L for Ottawa.
This is the thing. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go on a bit of a tangent because I'm a huge fucking proponent of this bullshit. He said it out loud. He wanted to go play to a state with no income tax, or was that just kind of assumed?
I think that was the report, like the word from like the agent kind of put that out there.
And so that's one of the first who's actually said that out loud. How many players are thinking that quietly?
All of them.
Like, that's what I'm saying, man. And people keep trying to tell me that, oh, the no state tax isn't as big of a deal as it seems. I think that's bullshit. Like, it is. There needs to be some kind of a salary cap implication for that. There has to be to balance it. If you're going to have a hard cap, then you have to take that into account. Like, that's just plain and simple. I think you have to take that into account. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
It's 100% going to continue to be an issue for these teams that are in these markets.
And I said it. It was 3 out of the 4 teams in the Final Four were teams with no state income tax.
Yeah. Like, this is flat out something the NHL is going to have to address in terms of how they structure their league, so that other teams, not just the Arizonas of the world, the Buffalo, it's going to get to the point where there are teams, if it's not already there, I think it is in some circumstances, really prestigious teams. Montreal is a good example, is it not? Where some guys are just like, like the money I'm going to have to take isn't necessarily worth the hit. Like, they're going to have to do something to help some of these other teams be a little bit more competitive with that inherent advantage that teams based in states with no income tax have.
Yeah. On top of what we saw in the last Final Four, 3 of the last 4 Cup winners have been from a state with no income tax.
When's the next CBA agreement coming up?
That's a very good question. NHL CBA expiration. Current CBA was extended through the 2025-2026 season.
We're gonna have another lockout, boys. Let's go.
Honestly, we could. Yeah, I mean, this was extended during the COVID times. It was ratified August 1st, 2020. And yeah, it goes through the 2026 season. Interestingly enough, I mean, just some of the terms about the CBA were a little bit interesting in regards to this. Just I'm trying to read up on this as fast as I can. But essentially, it's like, oh, the CBA extension. Here's a quote from one of the articles on NHL.com. Ensures labor peace for NHL teams and players for 6 seasons. This will enable the league and union to chart long-term plans for an international calendar and events, including the Winter Olympics, All-Star Game, Winter Classic, and Stadium Series. I'll be very intrigued to see if the NHL ends up going to the Olympics next time up, too.
I want them to.
Yeah. There will likely be another. There will be another lockout. It's just, is any game time lost from it? You can almost guarantee it. From the Detroit perspective of this trade, they did pretty good. You know, you give up a first, you give up Dominic Kubalik, but you get Alex DeBrincat. You immediately re-sign him 4 years at just under $7.9 million. He has a 16-team no-trade list that kicks in for years 2 through 4. But if this first season were to be kind of rough, they could shop around a little bit and see what's out there. But I think Yzerman made the most of the... I mean, he had the leverage in these negotiations. He did. And it helps the team a lot. Like, their depth chart right now on Cap Friendly, again, it can change a lot. ADB, Dylan Larkin, David Perron. Pretty good top line, potentially. Robbie Fabry, if he can stay healthy. JT Compher, who they signed to free agency, and Lucas Raymond. Michael Rasmussen, Andrew Kopp, Christian Fischer, Klim Kostin, Joe Valeno, and Daniel Sprong, who they also signed in free agency. I do think they, on the forward side of things, like Dylan Larkin has a lot to prove about whether or not he's that big 1C.
Klim Kostin, I was told that he's going to Russia. He's 100% going to Russia, and the fact that Edmonton gave him away for free is no big deal. Huh. Wild.
Yeah. Funny how that works out, isn't it?
Signing rights, I guess. And if they can get him over there, they can. Huh.
Yeah. I think Detroit did well. I think both of these teams are in the very interesting spot of trying to break through a very tough Atlantic division. If you view trades as whoever got the best player wins, then yes, Detroit wins. But again, I'm someone where it's like, man, give it time. You just don't know. I mean, there are trades out there, and you know, Cap Friendly is a great tool for this. They literally have a trades section, and you can look up the date range of these trades. So I mean, we could go back to 2018 now at this point, right? And say, okay, what were some of the trades that happened in 2018 and how are they viewed now? And again, you go back that far, and obviously, hey, certain things have changed just a little bit in terms of how things worked out. And I'm trying to bring up a couple of examples here, so bear with me for a moment. But I'm trying to find a really good example of like, okay, what was a trade where it's like, nope, slam dunk for this team that didn't necessarily pan out that way. Turns out there were a lot of trades in 2018, especially around the draft. Jesus, I couldn't have picked a worse year for this. Holy hell, I'm floundering. Absolutely floundering here. It's great. God, there were some weird trades in 2018, though. You guys have any recollection of Peter Mrazek being a Flyer?
What?
The hell did that?
Huh?
Yeah, so February 19th, 2018, third-round picks. The Flyers picked up Peter Mrazek. He played 17 games and won in the playoffs and then went to Carolina.
Huh?
Weird. Very weird. But, you know, what I'll do instead of sitting here floundering is implore people. Like, go back, look at certain years, look at a trade now, particularly involving big names, because every year it's like, for example, there's a trade here of Andrew O'Brien for Mark McNeil, whatever. But every year you can go back and look at some of these deals and just be like, okay, what was this viewed at as the time versus, well, shit, what is it viewed as now? And that idea of like, okay, oh, this team fleeced this team. It doesn't always age that way. For example, Rick Nash. We mentioned him earlier. February 25th, 2018. Rick Nash acquired by the Boston Bruins at 50% retained salary for Matt Bolesky on 50% retained salary. Ryan Spooner Ryan Lindgren.
Brian
first and a
Spooner. Y'all remember Spooner?
Yeah, he's a KHL legend now. I remember a few years ago, he posted something on Instagram like, "Hey, I need someone to teach me Russian," and I said like, "Hey, maybe fucking Polina can teach you Russian or whatever." He didn't get back to me.
Oh,
Rip.
But yeah, so this Rick Nash trade is, I think, one of those interesting examples. Again, the Bruins gave up Matt Bolesky, was never anything for the Rangers. I mean, once he went to the Bruins, essentially his career was done. Ryan Spooner didn't stick around in the league for too much longer. They did give up Ryan Lindgren, who is still with the Rangers to this day. Solid player. A first-round pick, though, that became Jacob Bernard-Docker, which means, hey, that pick was involved in another trade. And that's the point. These trades can just keep happening. So you never know. And actually, I'm trying to find out what the hell this trade was involving the Bernard-Docker pick, and unfortunately, Cap Friendly's kind of failing me a little bit here. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like you never know how a draft is, or how a trade, or a draft, for that matter, is going to age. I am damn well determined to find this pick that Ottawa acquired for Bernard-Docker, number 5. So it was, let's see, the trade that sent Pittsburgh's first-round pick, 22nd overall, to the Rangers in exchange for Rangers. So basically, the Rangers traded up and landed Keandre Miller, and Ottawa dropped back a few spots and picked up Jacob Bernard-Docker. So you could argue that deal worked out pretty well for the Rangers. Ryan Lindgren, make another deal, get Keandre Miller. It's 2 parts of their defense right there. Yeah. Rick Nash on 50% retained salary. Could have worked out well for the Bruins. Maybe did. Just go back. Look. Inform yourself, because things aren't always as they appear. Other quick things, because again, there isn't too much, but hey, somehow we found a way to make the show an hour. Anze Kopitar signed an extension in Los Angeles for much less than what Anze Kopitar should be getting paid. So good for the Kings on that. He's got 1 year left of $10 million this year, and then it drops down to $7 million for 2 years after that. Not quite taking the Bergeron discount, but hey, I don't blame him. The San Jose Sharks landed Philip Zadina.
In a 4D chess move by Mike Greer, by the way.
The 6th overall pick in the previously mentioned 2018 draft, who really wasn't working out for the Detroit Red Wings. Has a career high of 24 points in 74 games. Gets put through waivers, nobody claims him, and ultimately signs a deal with the Sharks. 1 year, $1.1 million, the reclamation project
out, though, right?
of Philip Zadina. No, contract termination. Unconditional waivers, contract termination afterwards. He agreed to terminate his deal.
Oh, he agreed to terminate. Wait. Oh.
Yeah, you have to agree with the team and the player slash.
Because they were just going to bury him. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had 2 years left on his deal in Detroit at 1.825, excuse me. And would have had a qualifying offer. Cap Friendly estimates at about $2.2 million once that deal expired.
So he gave up money to bet on himself. I like it. I like that fire. Did. He's always had that fucking confidence, man. He walks into a room, his dick's already been there for 5 minutes. Remember what he said at the draft?
No. Hopefully that.
Oh, because I'm pretty sure Montreal passed on him, and he's like, I'm going to be filling their net with goals.
Yeah,
he was the one that said that.
Yeah,
so with Ottawa and Montreal, he said he's going to fill their net with pucks because they passed up on him because he wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Well, so far that hasn't happened, but
yeah, it hasn't yet. And but I'm happy with it because I really wanted him. You guys, you probably, if anyone follows me on Twitter, you see me when he was going through waivers. I was like, you got to pick this guy up when he gets through unscathed. I did that. Everyone disliked that. And then, but then he got signed for 1.1 by Mike Greer. Everyone liked that.
I do think it's a pretty good spot for him to try to, rehab a little bit. And if he catches fire, might seem unlikely, but if he catches fire, it's a very tradable contract to a team that might want to add, a player of his caliber to their roster for a playoff push.
Yeah.
Or, especially with RFA contract control, or maybe he hangs around. in San Jose.
It's really no risk for the Sharks.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly what they need to be doing right now is, okay, for some of these younger guys who didn't work out elsewhere, who can we bring here, and can they turn it around?
Yeah, and this is the right time to do it. I remember we did that. We've done that in the past with like Mikhail Bodker and stuff, but at the time we're trying to win, and you're like, we're going to sign Mikhail Bodker. Maybe he could be a good piece, and then he's not, and you're like, oh, fuck. And then you don't have cap to bring in other stuff. So I like what Mike Grier is doing, and the most important thing is he's doing it at the right time.
There was the controversy in Vancouver surrounding Ian Cole.
Not his fault.
And him choosing the number 28. For those who somehow missed this, of course, the Vancouver Canucks.
I had to look this up. I had to look up what the fuss was about because I did not remember this. But yeah, this is on the organization. Like, retire the 100%. Number or something. Then, like,
the Vancouver Canucks had a young player by the name of Luc Bourdon, who wore the number 28 with the team. He was 21 years old in 2008 when he died in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
And no one had worn the number since. But the Canucks had not officially retired it. So Ian Cole, who has worn the number 28 for most of his career, I think I can look up NHL numbers to see if he's worn anything else. I know he's now going to wear the number 82 after this. But Ian Cole signs with the team and is going to play. And indeed has worn the number 28 as much as he possibly can. Hockey reference, for those who don't know, always have up what jersey they've worn and with what team. Outside of being a rookie with the Blues, where he wore 23, he has always worn the number 28. So he just goes to take his normal number, and a lot of people are like, how dare you? He releases a statement saying, hey, nope, I'm going to change it. I didn't know. I'm sorry. And now he's going to wear 82. And yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. It's just that idea of, man, did the Vancouver Canucks set this guy up for failure? Like, for the most part, people seem to be cool about the fact that, like, hey, honest mistake. It's just that idea of how the hell did the team... You couldn't have known that the idea of, like, oh, if someone chooses this number, that there would be some backlash towards it. You could... At that point, why isn't the number already retired? And it should be moving forward. Like, the best time to retire it was 10 years ago. The second best time is now, after something like this. Yeah, hopefully Ian Cole didn't catch too much negative flack out of it, but it was just one of those weird things where it's just like, how, why? I don't know. But hopefully, again, maybe just one of the off-season stories that gets blown up a little bit too much, but yeah. They put Ian Cole in a really bad spot. Hopefully they have learned from it a little bit. And then two other things. Endo, this one affects the Leafs.
Yeah.
One of the big talking points of the past week, Ronnie Hirvonen in Leafs developmental camp gets lit up on a hit. My take on this, anytime, and I get the idea of like, oh, it's a scrimmage and you gave a guy a concussion, simmer down. Anytime you put young players in a position to try and impress, the physicality isn't going to disappear. It's just not.
The Sharks had multiple fights at like development games like a couple years ago.
The guy that hit Ronnie Hirvonen is named Nolan Dillingham. Perhaps Dillingham. Who played for the Sarnia Sting. He's 21 years old. Undrafted. He's actually the captain of the Sarnia Sting.
Yep.
That guy isn't going to... He had 14 points in 45 games as an overager. Like, offense isn't how he's going to stand out.
Also, he had 65 penalty minutes that season as well, too. So, I don't want to say he's a goon, but he is...
He's a physical player.
He's a physical player. He's a physical guy.
If you only, like... If you don't have that like elite level NHL offense to stand out, and you know, a lot of these guys in the NHL, like we always kind of talk about it too, right? The jokes of NHL fourth liners they show up to any rink, they're going to be the most skilled guys in a pickup scenario. It's just
anyone.
Hey, that's not the role that you play, so you're not going to see any of those guys try to, show off their Datsu compression.
Yeah, not even NHL. If it's AHL or ECHL, anyone getting paid pro, like being paid for money, you can tell immediately when they're on the ice, this guy's a pro level player. I had a skate yesterday, funny enough, with a bunch of ECHL guys. Some guys were in like Wichita and some other places as well. And you can tell those guys, they were there to, like, the play, but they weren't physical. When they were on each other, they played hard. But when it's another guy who's not at that level per se, they still played aggressive, but didn't like check or, do anything crazy about that. They were really aware of their surroundings, kind of thing. And this is a very, very bad decision from the guy, from Nolan, to go and make that hit too. Because you see, after he makes the hit, he just kind of skates around.
I mean, I think at that point, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, like, what else is he supposed to do? Like, you're there to prove, like, hey, I'm worth the look.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're more of a defensive defenseman, more of a physical threat, the idea of, well, it's a scrimmage, so don't be overly physical. It's like, well, then how the fuck am I supposed to stand out? Because my game isn't the offensive side of things. Like, it's just inherent. Even if it's a scrimmage, if it's dev camp, it's a physical sport. It is inherent that incidents like this are going to pop up, where someone's trying to make an impression and makes the wrong play at the wrong time that unfortunately results in someone getting hurt. But it's just the nature of the beast.
Yep.
Like, I didn't view this as some cardinal sin that the guy broke. It's just, like, what else are you supposed to do to make that impression?
Like, he wasn't headhunting. It was just a normal hockey play that resulted in a situation. And the one thing as well that I noticed is people were saying, oh, concussion. It's like, do people forget how a concussion actually happens?
I believe he did suffer a concussion, but...
Yeah, but the methodology of any, like, contact or hit, even if it's all towards the body, can result in a concussion because of how the brain hits. A concussion is basically what happens when there's trauma to the brain itself, whether it be for, like a blast, like an air blast kind of thing that causes a concussion. It could be direct contact, like being hit on, or it could be your brain literally fucking hitting the back of your skull from, like, whiplash moments. Those are the 3 types of concussions. And 2 of those happen in hockey more often than not. It doesn't matter if you hit the head. As long as you hit the body and the head goes and the head moves, there's a higher risk of a concussion happening regardless. And, like, they have stuff in place with helmets and everything to keep things, relatively intact, but there's no 100% guarantee that if you play a contact sport, you are not going to get a concussion. Yeah. Flat out, 100%. No matter how safe you are with the level of play that's contact is at, it's sad to say that it's gonna happen, but hopefully it doesn't happen. We've seen star players have concussions as well too, like over like nothing hits. Like, I've had a concussion off of just getting, like, ran into. And the guy didn't even hit my head. He ran into my chest, and I was, like, down on the ice for like 10 minutes. And that's the thing. Like, you don't know how it's going to happen, and it's unfortunate that it happened. But it's also kind of part of the sport.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, but yeah.
The last thing to talk about is a story that broke today. A few hours ago, the Arizona Coyotes tweeted out that they had placed forward Alex Galchenyuk on unconditional waivers for the purpose of terminating his contract, with the club stating they would have no further comment at the time. This after signing Galchenyuk less than 2 weeks ago. Katie Strang, who covers the Coyotes, we have mentioned her a ton on this show, sent this out. Scottsdale Police Department has confirmed to The Athletic that Alex Galchenyuk was arrested on July 9th on a number of charges, including private property hit and run, disorderly conduct, failure to obey, resisting arrest, threatening, or intimidating.
Ooh.
I can't necessarily blame anybody if their first reaction is to dunk on the guy. Because for me, it's one of those things where, by the way, it was confirmed that there was only property damage No one else was hurt or anything like that. He was booked into the city jail on Sunday night, released the following morning, and obviously got to go through the legal system now. I saw a lot of the initial reaction was to dunk on this guy of what an idiot. For me, I just can't help but go to the standpoint of what the hell's going on with them.
Yeah.
And it's such a fine line between like that line of mental health issue and shit going on versus you're just an entitled douche is very thin.
Yeah.
Because so often that first part feeds the other part. Where that line is for people versus this is just an entitled douche being a douche versus the side that I'm on where I'm just like, man, I wonder what's going on with that guy. Not that it justifies the behavior, but I wonder what's going on with that guy. Because this just, it makes you wonder. And, right now there's no word in regards to whether or not drugs or alcohol were involved. Katie Strang had a follow-up tweet. She said, quote, asked if the NHL was consulted prior to the Coyotes' decision to place him on unconditional waivers. Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly said the team, quote, made us aware of the events immediately, and we made ourselves available to consult on their options. The NHLPA is reviewing the matter. As others have reported, the NHLPA has 60 days from the date of contract being terminated to decide whether or not to file a grievance. So we're going to hear more about this in the coming months. That's just my thought. Like, yeah, on one hand, you want to be like, what an idiot. What the fuck are you doing? But at the same time, it's like my initial reaction was to look more at the human side of just like, I hope that guy's all right. And at the very least, an incident like this, no one was seriously hurt. And at least it might serve as a wake-up call, whether or not, again, regardless of what side of the line he's on, hopefully it's a wake-up call of like, you're not in a good spot.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I'm wondering is, does he classify? I know his contract is negated with the NHL. Like he's been dropped. He's dropped from the Coyotes.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's eligible for the NHLPA Wellness and Safety Program, or whatever it's properly called.
I would presume so.
Yeah. Because
indeed what needs to happen.
I think that's definitely something he needs to do and step up and be a part of that. Because as far as I know, the NHLPA program covers NHL contracts and just NHL contracts, and the PHPA covers minor and semi-pro. Okay, just checking in my head. I think the one thing, if he can step into that program, I think the one thing he definitely needs to step into that program. Who knows, whatever, because it's not even just there's been so many things with him, dropping to so many different teams. Like, we don't know the full story of it, everything, obviously, as well, so I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think that might be something he might need to take. Not even for, like, anything. Just, you have the resources there with the NHL and the NHLPA. You might as well use them while you have them, while you have the chance to, before things get worse.
It's just kind of a bummer. That's the only reaction that I have at this stage. Gentlemen, with that, I think we are caught up as undisputed.
One thing I was going to say, to end on a light note, the Maple Leafs Sports Entertainment, the parent company of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto Marlies, Toronto Raptors, Toronto Argonauts, TFC.
All the Toronto teams.
All the Toronto teams, all the major Toronto teams, except for the Blue Jays, because Jesus Christ. They got into some hot water over the past week and a half, I believe. They owe $1 million in property tax because they don't think that the one of the fields that they operate on, BMO Field, is their property tax to pay on, which is funny considering everyone's talking about how Arizona wants to move. Arizona has to move because they can't pay their bills, but yet the Leafs owe $1 million in tax.
I mean, at that point, it's a write-off for a company that big.
Right?
That's a rounding error. $1 million bucks.
Yeah. But so their reasoning behind it is because they have a joint deal with the city of Toronto, and their reasoning is, well, we kind of co-own the teams, but we don't use it the entirety year round, so we pay per team. So we don't deserve to pay the property tax because they have an agreement where they're paying for it when we're only using it in the season. So that's 9 months out of the year they're using the field. Which, I mean, sure, but you co-own the fucking thing. When I want to rent out the arena, it doesn't go to the City of Toronto, it goes to Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment.
I don't have a reaction to this other than just,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Gentlemen, with that, I think our weekly dive has come to a close. Sin, it's good to have you back, buddy.
Thank you.
What do you got going on now that you're home?
Yeah, getting ready to launch some series on my YouTube again. I'll probably have a franchise mode coming. I've been thinking about what to do. But I'll hopefully be able to start that this weekend. And I have recorded Civilization 5 series. Not all of it yet, but I'm pretty much almost done with the game. I spent 8 hours playing and recording yesterday. So
Jesus.
that's how that's going. And then see what else I want to do. Yeah, I'll probably continue the Xbox 360 Live the Life that I was doing as well, because wasn't getting a ton of views, but I was having a lot of fun with it, and that's what's most important. So that's what I got going on.
Fair enough. Endo, what's up?
Nothing much. I'm still trying to brainstorm my idea that I have for franchise. About basically the general idea is I position lock myself on like an SHL team and use the season mode that they have over there and just play a whole season with a random SHL team, then move the DEL and then the SM Liga. Just go through that kind of thing. I feel like no one really touches that in franchise mode, in season mode at all. They just kind of play franchise and don't really touch anything else. And so I think it'll be a lot of fun to play in those smaller leagues per se and make a series out of it. And yeah, I think I'm going to try and figure out how to make content off of that. I might actually stream for once on YouTube and go from there. Yeah.
Be able to catch both of these two playing some NHL 2K10 on the nightly streams as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a good time. With that, everybody, you know where to find us at this point. It's the summer. We'll be back next week, damn it. It's one a week season because there is no hockey season. We will see you all very soon. Goodbye.